everyone. My name is Kirk Bachman, and welcome back to The Ultimate Dish. Today, we are thrilled, I am thrilled, to welcome Trenin Nubiru, a graduate of Escoffier's Culinary and Baking and Pastry programs, and a shining example of how passion can lead to extraordinary reinvention. After beginning his journey as a saxophone player in the Army Band, earning an electrical engineering degree from West Point, and serving as captain in communications, Trenin spent 20 years in military service before discovering a new passion, the world of cooking, baking, and pastry arts. At Escoffier, he fully embraced the creativity of cuisine as well as the intricate science and artistry of baking, honing techniques ranging from all things cooking to patisserie and cake design. His journey also included an impactful externship in chocolate work, where he refined his technical skills under the mentorship of a fellow veteran. But Trenin's ambitions extend well beyond the classroom, from mentoring aspiring bakers in competitions to preparing for the prestigious Coupe du Monde de la Pâtisserie and Bocuse. He's been able to channel his military discipline into a bright and innovative culinary future. So get ready for an inspiring conversation about ambition, artistry, American cuisine, and the transformative power of stepping boldly into the unknown. And there he is. How are you, buddy?
I'm phenomenal. Thank you so much for that introduction.
How about that? Right? I can I catch my breath for a second?
Yeah, I'm catching my breath still.
My goodness, my goodness. I love this. And people are they're gonna figure out really quickly that you and I have met. And I could not be more proud, first of all, having known you now for the last few years, but I couldn't be more proud to have you on the show. I threatened this for a long time, and and here we are. Here we are. So let's go. What's going on? Tell us. Set the stage a little bit. I'm looking at a lot of stuff here. You got a sax over there. Didn't know about that. Got your apron hanging over there. What's going on?
Okay, so yeah, this is my normal setup actually. I have my saxophone, I have an alto right here. There's a soprano behind it that it's still in the case right now. And then I have a whole piano and music set up off camera that you can't see, where I do a lot of composition and also practicing. I'm with the Jeffco Community Band, so I practice a lot of the, like, mostly marches, a few other pieces here and there, but it's pretty fun. And then I have my speed rack in the back with all my cooking equipment on it. I actually have at least one of every single piece of equipment that's at Escoffier. But I have my Robo Cool, got my Vitamix. I even have a juicer over here. I have a meat slicer down there. I have every single color of cutting board that's there. All the different types of rolling pins. My
It's our satellite kitchen. It's Trenin's satellite kitchen. If you're missing anything, you let me know and I'll get it over there for sure.
Done.
I feel like I've been in your kitchen because you're posting. This isn't on the script, but I'm curious. It just popped up. You're posting a lot more on social media of late. Is there something I don't know about? Are you looking to start a little company in social media?
I'm not looking to start a social media company as much as I'm looking to deliver an experience.
Okay.
Mm,
Okay.
I really like teaching almost, but really showing people what I'm working on and the things that I'm doing. And it kind of helps spin my creativity, because of a lot of the people that follow me, friends, family, and stuff. They're like, hey, Trent, I really like this. Have you tried doing that? They'll give me really good feedback. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I love it. I'll take notes on the feedback. And then the next video that comes out will be something related to that. It's pretty interesting. Like, I thought about tagging all the people who are inspiring me to make these dishes, so you can see
Oh, I
the
love that. Yeah.
continuity of things, because it's not random.
Yeah.
It's very thought out. It's requested. It's back and forth dialogue. It's like, hey, try this and then show it to me. And I usually end up posting stuff on the social media because I have a worldwide network. So I can't talk to my friends in Korea and my friends in Europe and show them like the stuff I'm doing. I just post it on social media and they're able to catch it.
Isn't that something? Even for an old guy like me, social media has become, and at my house, I have, for my older daughters, I've just got boxes and boxes of photos, old school stuff, right before social media. And now you never even think about. I was looking at my Canon camera the other day, sitting in the closet, and I'm like, wow, I haven't touched that thing in like 10 years. because social media is just such a great sort of, you know, closet for photos and sharing things. I don't ever post anything controversial or political. It's just about family, it's about cooking, it's about cool things. One thing I was going to ask you is that when I look at your cooking, and you walk people through in a very nice way, and I know that you kind of live there alone. You cook a lot of food. Do you do you invite friends over, or you take it over to people's homes?
It depends. There's a method to it as well. A lot of the desserts I do distribute. I take it down to the front desk at my apartment complex. They love me here. They'll be like, "Hey,
Yeah, I
Trey, can
bet.
you
I
bring
bet.
us something? Holidays coming up. We have an event coming." I'll do that. I got some close friends that are local that I'll
Uh-huh.
share dishes with sometimes too as well. But I've really focused in on making smaller portions of things. So
Yeah.
I'm cooking a lot. I'm cooking frequently, but I'm not cooking more than about 2, 3 servings of a product at a time.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
that
Yeah.
turns into my meal. It turns into how I supplement myself um,
Yeah. Yeah.
throughout the day. While I also take the learning approach to trying new techniques. So
Well, you're still slim, so you know I see you frequently enough to know that you're not putting on the pounds. But
yeah,
let's dive in. We're going to come back and forth. I got more questions than I even planned for, but I've spent, like I said, you know, the last several years really kind of getting to know you. Um, and I want to set the stage for our listeners, and the listeners will be beyond just our students. You know, we're really developing a crowd here as influencers, right? People are happy to listen to the Ultimate Dish. And I think what's really interesting, to use a pun, is to peel back the layers, right? Let's peel the onion back a little bit because your story is riveting. It's fun. It's thoughtful. And if you're cool with it, let's go all the way back to your childhood and talk a little bit about the military. Were there other members of your family that were in the military? How'd you get inspired to do that? And thank you for that, by the way. And at the same time, what were your early fascinations with cuisine, with food? Did your family cook at home a lot? And you know, let's start there, and then we'll jump into the Army band in just a minute.
understood. Okay, so I'm gonna start at the very beginning. We're gonna start at birth, back in the
Okay.
mid
Okay.
80s. Trenin was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And from that point, life just exploded into exploration. That's what I've termed it at this point. I moved so much. I lived in Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, Sapulpa, Oklahoma, Tulsa. I moved up to Michigan for a while, lived in Inkster and Detroit off of the west side of 7 Mile. Moved down to Alabama, stayed in a place called East Lake. It's a subset of Birmingham. But yeah, like just tons of moving. I feel like I went to a different school every year until high school. And then when I got to high school, I was able to stay there from 9 to 12. So childhood, I grew up all over the place. That's a big thing for me when people ask where I'm from. I come back with the word earth.
Earth. Yeah, yeah.
Earth,
Is that
earth.
because you're what were are you a military brat? Is that why? Or
So about that, not necessarily a military brat. I'm not sure exactly why we moved so much. My mother was in the Army Reserves for a little while. Well, she retired out the Army Reserves. I remember when I was younger, she got deployed to Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and I stayed with my grandmother for a little while. And that's really the only influence that the military had over my life was that small little section where she was gone deployed, then came back, and after that, you know, she was mom. She was at home the entire time I grew
yeah,
up.
yeah,
She was in the reserves, so she did her weekend drills like once a month, I think, and then like every year they have like 2 weeks. But I wasn't really affected by the military lifestyle traditionally. We just moved a lot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And what about the cooking piece of that? Was that grandma influenced, mom influenced?
I would say grandma had more to do with that.
Yeah,
Grandma was a phenomenal cook, and grandma probably spoiled me when it came to food because it was like Trenin Nubiru, what do you want? She called me Trenin Nubiru, my first and middle name. Trenin Nubiru, what do you want? And I loved her banana pudding. So I'm like, banana pudding all the time.
I
Just
love banana pudding. Who doesn't love banana pudding? Come
food. Like
on.
my
Come
grandmother
on.
made a phenomenal banana pudding.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite meals, aside from just cooking every meal. Like breakfast was done, always had lunch there, dinner. She made sure I ate. And I did
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did used to watch her around the kitchen. I shadowed her a bit. I grew up in a very country rural type environment. So like farmland. I did a lot of foraging growing up, like horses, tons of fishing and hunting. Oh my god, like I remember
Wow.
almost blowing
Wow.
my shoulder out of socket being like a 4-year-old with a shotgun and my uncle
Yeah.
and my grandpa in the background talking about, yeah, shoot
Yeah.
it. Like, oh, I think I just dislocated my shoulder.
So is that was Alabama?
No, that was in Oklahoma.
That was in Oklahoma.
That was
Okay, got
Oklahoma.
it. Got it. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Wow. And so then, so a little fast forward, did you become interested in the military when you're in high school, kind of stationary for, 4 years?
that is what happened. It
Okay.
by the time I got to high school, I had already established a lot of who I am, my behaviors, my traits, my interests, my hobbies, everything. Like the wheels had already been turning on what I wanted to do with my life. So like day one through the door, freshman in high school, Trenin knew what he was going to do. I didn't need to think about it. There was no extra stuff involved. There was no like, I don't know where this income's going to come from. It was I already knew. It was like, all right, on graduation, I'm out of here. I'm headed to the military.
And who influenced that, Trenton, at
Um,
such an early age?
Honestly, I think my army, my JROTC instructors influenced it more than anything. Because, like I said, my mother was reserve military. She
Mm-hmm.
definitely provided me with a good foundation, a structure, organization, cleanliness, chores, get this done, put yourself on a cycle, regulate yourself. She definitely provided that structure to me. But my personal interest, like I said, with the hunting and then the fitness, I played almost every sport growing up. I had to have played every
I was
sport,
just going to ask. I was just going to
every,
ask.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
all. I played hockey. Listen, I can figure. I played the hockey, the football, basketball, track. Like,
I've seen you on the skates on social media.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was in
Yeah.
Philadelphia. That was fun. That was fun. But yeah, I just playing the sport, so keeping myself fit. And then I've mentioned this before that I was a tinkerer growing up. So I love to tinker with things. I would disassemble anything I could find to figure out how it worked and then put it back together. And I was doing this with an old screwdriver, an old like wrench, anything I can get my hands on because I didn't have like a set structured toolbox. So I was huge on taking stuff apart, putting it together. I love working with my hands. I love being in that environment with other people. So like I said, once I got to high school and joined JROTC, my instructors are going back and forth with me, and they're like, "Man, you're really good at a lot of this stuff, and you have a military background or at least a discipline." And it was like, "What about a career in the army?" And I'm like, "I'm already ahead of you. Like I've already thought about it." Yeah.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something? And then, so where does music come in? It was music part of grandma, mom, or is that just Trenton?
Music is a family thing.
Okay.
I don't even know when it originated. I remember playing my grandmother's piano in her house as a kid growing up. I remember
Yeah.
my mother plays. I remember she plays the flute. She was in band. My sisters play. The family in my family members that don't play musical instruments, they're all vocalists. They sing like phenomenal vocalists. Like they own record labels and stuff.
When you talk to chefs and people in the industry, right? There's this kind of theme that I've brought up, not every single episode, but quite a bit, right? It's fast cars, it's motorcycles, it's music, or it's all of the above, right? So, music obviously a big part of your life. How does this all kind of migrate into? I'm putting the pictures together. You join the army right
Yes.
out of high school, right? Right out of high
Actually
school,
still in high school. I did
still
my
in high
audition.
school.
I did my audition for the military band. I think between my junior and senior year in high
Okay,
school.
okay.
Yeah, so I ended up enlisting on September 12th of 2002, like the
And
year
then
after the Twin Towers.
and then you were in the band in the Army the entire 20 years you were there.
Yes.
And tell me about that. And obviously music is still a big part of your life, but I just want to
Absolutely.
hear about, all the things that you're doing because you didn't do any cooking in the Army though, right?
No.
No, that came after. So how, just walk me through. I guess I have never thought about music. Maybe when I watch West Point play Army or I'm Navy play Army on television, I'm like, oh, they got a band and all that. But, tell me about music in the Army.
Very professional. That
Okay.
audition to the Army band was by far the most complicated audition I've ever in my life had. I played every scale that I know, like major, minor, harmonic, melodic, pentatonic, just up and down all the scales. And then as I'm going through these scales, I have like three judges in front of me and they're taking notes. And not only are they taking notes, but they're writing music while I'm playing. So then
Wow.
they like, all right, play this piece, and I'll go to my prepared piece, and I'll get through that, and then one of the military guys will take the music he was writing during my audition and put it in front of me and be like, go, you got to sight read this now, and it's like, oh, it was just like reacting. It was very good. I enjoyed it, but that was intense.
That
Um,
almost feels like that almost feels to associate that with cooking and baking. It almost feels like a mystery basket, right?
that's
You've got
exactly
all
what
these
it was.
techniques. Here's these ingredients. Go, right? Speaking of
Yes.
go, I'm going to catch you off guard here, with the home musician piece. I love this question, and it's not on the script, but if you had to list your top three bands of all time, think high fidelity. Go. What are those three bands?
Okay, I'm a marching band person. So
Okay, we've
um,
never had that answer before.
my top three right now, Jackson State University out of Mississippi is number one,
Wow. Okay.
hands down. Deion Sanders used to coach there.
Yes,
That's
he
where, that's
did.
where he
And,
coached there
and
right
and the
before he
boys
came
played
over
there.
here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So their music program,
Is
phenomenal.
top notch, huh? Yeah,
top,
yeah.
top notch. I'm talking like creativity, artistry, musicianship, dynamic. Like they play music, like very soulful music. It sounds great. Like hands down, number one band.
I love it. I love it.
Number two would be Southern University out of Louisiana. And then number three would be Texas Southern out of Texas. I don't know what part. I think they're like in the Dallas area or something. I'm not sure exactly where they're located.
University of Michigan doesn't make the podium. Wow.
Nah, they're not my style. They're not. I'm more of a show style as opposed to like the core style of marching.
I got a great answer. We've never had that answer before. Absolutely love it. My son is a freshman at Centaurus High School, which is not far from the school, and he plays baseball. But the band there, and I had no idea, has won like the state competition. They're 5A, I think. Year after year after year. So, it's really cool to see that they take it so seriously, and
Yeah.
it's spectacular, right? Absolutely spectacular. I'll take you there one time. I think you'd enjoy it.
I would love
Trennan, if you had to reflect on your 20 years in the military, and you and I have talked about this in the past, so I'm not going to ask you too many details, but is there something that you're most proud of in your time there that you can share?
yes. Yeah, this is funny. The thing I am most proud of is retirement. Listen, that is a goal. Like
20 years.
if I could show you the statistics on how many people actually make it that far and they're able to retire and live like
Yeah,
the attrition rate is so high. Like
sure.
when I first went in, when I switched over to after West Point and I started down my officer career path, they used to preach to us like a successful military career would be making the rank of lieutenant colonel and commanding a battalion.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I didn't make it that far, but I still consider myself completely successful because I made it to retirement. That was my goal,
That's
100%.
such a great answer. And you retired as a captain, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Congratulations, buddy. I mean,
Yes.
absolutely spectacular. And um, I'm gonna change this question up a little bit because I think you've already addressed it. I was gonna kind of ask you if you had a need for a career change, right? And you joined the military, but it sounds like this was something in your heart and your soul at a very young age, and you pursued it, and
Yes.
you got to retirement type of thing. If you were in front of students, and I want to say for the audience, by the way, that Trenin spoke at graduation on the campus of CU 2 years ago, over 2,000 people in the audience. Probably one of the most memorable speeches because it came from the heart, right?
Yes.
And you sweat profusely up there.
I,
You were
I'm still
you
sweating.
were like a coach on the field, just talking to these graduates as if you loved and knew every single one of them. And we still talk about it. We'll never and you may have dropped a couple of bombs, but that's okay. It was all part of the speech. But if you had a big group of students or potential students in front of you and you were giving them advice on changing their career trajectory, to changing their life, what advice would you give them?
I would give them, I mean, the advice that I apply to myself. The self discovery part is a huge portion in any type of career initiating or changing.
Yeah.
You have to know who you are. And I had the advantage growing up. I would say this: I had complete freedom growing up. I was encouraged to pave my own way. Like I cannot recall any situation where anybody ever told me no. Like
Yeah.
everything I wanted to do, I got to. It didn't matter how crazy, how over the fall. It was just like I got a lot of weird looks. Trina, what are you over there doing? It's like I'm just doing this. But after I articulated myself and explained what I was doing, it was like, man, this little kid really knows what he's doing. He's not just messing around with stuff. But that self exploration, I had to do it again after retirement. I sat around for almost a year and a half trying to figure out who I was, what I'm supposed to do with all these new skills I have, and how to repackage it and how they're transferable between different industries. So definitely self exploration. That was a huge thing with a lot of my younger classmates when I was going through the program, and also people I've worked with in the industry. I get in the back of the kitchen with these younger guys, and I don't talk to them about food. I talk to them about who they are. Who are you as a person? Who are you trying to be? What do you want to do? What are your aspirations? What are you going for? What are your talents? And I get a lot of blank stares. I get a lot of, I've never thought about that before. I'm glad you asked that question. Can I do that? That's a huge one. Can I do that? It's like asking for permission to be yourself. Don't do that. Like you are yourself. Just go explore. Be yourself. Pick up something, put it down. If you don't like it, try something else. If you do, then go. Don't make unsuccess a bad thing. Like failure
Yeah.
is to be expected. We all get knocked down, we come back up. Get used to the feeling. Don't make it a bad thing. Understand its purpose and kind of evolve around it. Like I was doing something that needed to change. That's all that happened. I changed it and now everything's working out fine. So I would encourage a lot of self-discovery if I was talking to the younger people, making sure they have some type of identity. They know who they are, especially coming out of high school. Like know who you are, what you want to do. Start thinking about it now. Like,
Such a great answer, and such a it's not easy to do, right? It's hard to look in the mirror. It's hard to look in the mirror, right? And it's a cliche, but Michael Jordan used to always comment on how many shots he missed, right? How many shots he missed. Tom Brady talks more about the losses and how he learned from those losses versus the victories, right? The most
yes.
successful quarterback in the history of the NFL, right? So really, really, really good advice. That I through our research, and I have to admit, I didn't know anything about this, so I'm just going to ask it.
Okay.
The Whimsy Cookie Company in Georgia. How do I not know this story? Kendra, fill me in on this.
Okay. So I moved to Atlanta on the whim. Like
And
I
that's where
don't
you
know why.
were. That's where you moved to Boulder from
Yes, I moved to Boulder from
from
Atlanta. I
Atlanta,
was
right?
living
I
in
remember that.
Florida. I was
Okay.
enjoying life in Florida. I was coming off of just winning my first bodybuilding competition. Like I was excited.
That's
And
another one I didn't know. What is going on here?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I
Okay.
won the men's physique category.
Oh my God. All right.
But I was, I don't know why, but I didn't feel, I think it was just the environment. I was surrounded by a bunch of retirees. I was surrounded by a bunch of folks who were just
In
sitting
Florida.
there and
In Florida.
coasting through
Yeah.
life, but they were also two and almost three times my age. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like, do I really want to be surrounded by this? I'm still young. I want to get back into doing things. I had to get my mental back together because my mental health, it collapsed on me towards the end of my career. I actually was did not self-select myself out the military. I got a medical discharge for a mental health reasons. So
Yeah.
I,
I
I had,
gotcha.
had to
Yeah.
do a lot of recovering from that. And then I was like, all right, I feel like I'm more stable. Let me get back. I want to do more. And I ended up in Atlanta, of all places. I did not want to go to Atlanta, chef. That was not where I wanted. I was just like, I don't want to be there. I didn't like the energy there. I thought that place was more like crabs in a bucket, like a lot of people fighting for minimal resources. I just had this crazy assumption about Atlanta in my head, and everything about me didn't want to go there. But that's somehow where I ended up there. So I moved to Atlanta, and I was walking the neighborhood where I moved at, and there was a cookie store that was like right on the other side of the railroad tracks. It was like a 5 minute walk. I was walking there every single day. And they had a help wanted sign. So I walked in. Iris was the owner. Iris, gosh, she's a elderly lady. I think she was in her like a late 80s, maybe early late 80s.
Wow.
Iris,
Wow.
older lady. She walked in and was like, "What type of help are you looking for?" And I could see she was like, "I need people to lift heavy things for me and move like 50-pound bags of sugar." And I'm looking at her like, "Yeah, that makes sense." And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm like, I can do that. And then it was like also the baker is transitioning out of the job. So we need help with the baking process too. And I was like, I told her, I was like, these are my credentials. I showed her my resume, which was still heavily military at the time. And
Yeah.
she was like, Trenin, I can't afford you. She was like, your skill set. And I was like, no, please. I kind of pleaded a little bit. I was like, please don't do this to me. I was like, I'm trying to start over. I'm willing to grind. Put me at the bottom. Ignore the fact that I was just in charge of 5,000 people. Like I'm starting completely over. And she was like, all right, I'm gonna bring you on. So she brought me on. The original baker that was there, she showed me some basic things to do with the cooking and stuff. But Kendra, the manager, she was the bigger influence. Nothing but love and respect from her. She actually graduated from the Cordon Bleu. She took me under her wing. She taught me how to make so many different types of cookies. And after I got proficient with just the baking of the cookies and stuff, she asked me one day. She was like, Trenin, you want to do something? You want to do something extra? And I was like what? She was like, can you decorate this? And she was like, this is a rosette. She piped it. This is a rosette. This is a leaf tip. She showed me all the tips and then told me to go watch a YouTube video, which is what I did. I went home. I probably watched YouTube piping videos that entire night. Like I went to sleep and woke up and was still watching them. And then I went in and I showed her that I could do it. Just the natural artisticness in me. I showed her I could decorate it, and she was like, "Good." And then as we progressed, like the decorations just dialed in. It all got really good, and she started making me do like the custom orders. Like we got a birthday coming up. Can you make this cake? And I was like, yes. So I did like little Yoda cookies and little lots of unicorns. I don't know why unicorns were so popular, but unicorns, cats, just drawing all these different things and the buttercream icings on top of the cookies and decorating them. And it was good. And I learned so much about myself. Like
Yeah.
she helped me really leave my military structure energy behind and help me understand my emotions, like what was going on inside of me. Because I had no idea. I would talk. I remember I broke down crying to her because I had no idea what was going on with me. And I want to say that was the first time I really felt loved by somebody.
I appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
it's good. It's good, right?
I'm very appreciative of her. Like I said,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
she helped me understand what was going on in me, and then she encouraged me to go forward. She's the reason I came to Escoffier. Like I
Isn't that
said,
something?
she advocated for the cordon bleu because she was a graduate from there. She completely advocated for it. However, this was
Yeah,
like COVID time, and cordon bleu completely shut down in the U.S. and there was
yeah,
no leaving. So it was like,
yeah.
hey, go to Escoffier. Like they got two programs over here, one in Texas, one in Boulder. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go out to Colorado. I didn't want to go to Texas.
I
Nothing.
gotta send Kendra a thank you note. Now, hey, I love the transparency. I love the emotion. That it's you're looking in the mirror, man. Right? You're looking in the mirror. I love that story. I love that story. Let's talk a little bit more about Escoffier. And by now our listeners know that Trenin may very well may be. I've been doing this for over 30 years and trying to impact people in the way that I think Escoffier impacted you. And I don't know that. Um, yeah, it's a small podium when you when you think about the people that really impacted my life, and you're at the top of that podium, buddy. So, I mean, I'm so proud of you and so happy, that we have a chance to stay in touch and a chance to kind of memorialize our history right here on the screen. And so you enrolled in culinary school. You came to Escoffier. You came to Boulder. I remember the day I met you. Uh, you were you were born to give that speech at graduation, by the way. Um, Tell us a little bit about your experience in school. You were unique, right? You volunteered for everything. I think you motivated a lot of other people. You reminded me a lot of myself. After I went to college, I went to culinary school at my dad's beckoning. And, I probably learned more, Trenin, by the volunteering that I did, the competitions that I did, the stuff that you couldn't put a dollar amount on. Literally, just my hand was always raised, and I immersed myself. I poured myself into it like you did every single day, even after graduation. Kristen Kish comes to town. I'm like, Trenton, you got to come over to the campus. Kristen's here, right? And just absolutely love that. And let me say this. You said this on a blog for us, right? So as you think about what your experience was, I want people to realize, and you did two programs so far. It takes a massive amount of precision and technique to thrive, not only in culinary but in baking and pastry. Maybe even more so in baking and pastry. You were you were able to maybe use your engineering mindset or your military discipline to your advantage, right? And you said in one of our blog articles, and I quote, listen, I've always been a tinkerer. You said that earlier. If I want to
Mm-hmm.
take a random ingredient and make it into a tart, I need to know how much water content that ingredient has, how it coagulates, how it emulsifies with other ingredients, and then how I can manipulate it. I mean, that is incredibly profound, right? And astute, right? It's critical thinking. That's all we can ever ask is that we show folks, you know, how to cook, what to cook, when to cook, but the critical thinking comes from you. Can you talk a little bit about your experience, Mary? Maybe from a student's perspective?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I originally like when my intention when I started there, I put a lot of things in perspective. I'm like, one, I already have a ton of military experience behind me. I'm a little bit more, I don't want to say older, a little more mature in my career and what I want to do with my life. And I'm putting things in perspective, and I really want to hit this industry running. That's what I told myself. I was like, I don't feel the need to go through basic training again. I don't feel the need to start all the way from the bottom. Like I don't feel the need to work my way up through things. But in order for me to start at the level I wanted to start at, I knew I had a knowledge gap that I needed to fill in. So I told myself day one, I was like, I'm coming here, I'm open minded, I want to learn absolutely everything. And this is where the engineering thing comes from too. A big thing that I noticed about getting my degree in electrical engineering is the engineers, they understand the basics. Engineers understand the basics, and with the understanding of the basics, they're capable of modifying things, they're capable of advancing things that exist, they're capable of recreating things, and also building things from scratch. Like, but it's a huge foundation of the basics that you have to understand in order to do that. um and that it goes back to, I saw another interview you were talking to, and you were talking about just the differences between cooking here in Boulder versus cooking at 0 degrees feet level, sea
Yeah,
level.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's like
Altitude. Yeah.
I need to understand everything. I don't want to be a great cook in Boulder, but then go visit my family in Alabama at 200 feet above sea level, and I can't successfully bake a cake. So it's a lot of needing to know everything, but I didn't know the depth that I needed to know it until Chef Dan. Chef Dan, my favorite chef in the world. Listen, I told him, we had a heart-to-heart conversation. I was like, I'm not like other students. I can take it. I was like, just drilling into me. If I'm doing something wrong, correct me. If there's something else I can learn, give it to me. If you got extra resources, and to this day, he just sent me another cookbook the other week, like phenomenal. But he
Yeah.
is the reason that I started thinking about food the way I think about it. I started picking it up and playing with it and manipulating it, and like, man, what else can this egg do? What else can this flour do? This whole line of hydrocolloidals. Chef Knowles taught me about those actually, but it was just like, what are these things? How do they work? At what temperatures do they work? Why do they work at that temperature? I messed up so much stuff. That helped too. It's like, man, how did I just mess this up? And then when you go back and look at the kind of science behind it, it was like, it's because you reduced the water content below 67%, which completely changed the structure on how this item baked according to this cooking method. Like, you use the dry heat cooking method and you were below a certain, uh, like I said, hydration level, and now you're getting a completely different product. But at that hydration level, if I would have, like, say, sous vide the product, it would have came out perfect.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was switching
Yeah.
all that stuff up, not only understanding what goes into the food and makes the food, but then if you take something out and switch it around, what else do I have to change to reproduce this product? And then it came down to cooking methods and stuff like that. So
So well said. To use your example of engineering, electronical engineering, right? You got your electricity and circuits down here at Escoffier. You needed to understand high altitude ratios, you
yes,
know, from the basics, right? Food safety is, number one. That's the first thing that you had to sort of get
huge.
wrapped around your head, which you may not have to worry about as an engineer, right? So,
Right. No,
yeah,
completely different ball game. It's like, what is
uh,
cross contamination?
Chef Dan's gonna love this episode. He's right around the corner in K4 there. So, you know what I love, Trent, hearing you. It seems like the curiosity is still there, right? Curiosity
Yes.
helped you grow as serving our country, helped you grow as a cookie maker, helped you grow probably as an engineer, but also definitely helped you grow, as a cook, as a chef, and being vulnerable is super super important. Always take pride in that. You eventually went through an externship at Lift Chocolate, which sort of surprised me, but then it didn't surprise me, right? Very unique, very intricate, very stylish, very sexy, actually, learning to work with chocolate. Why'd you select that route and your externship specifically? I remember talking to you on the phone your last day of externship because I needed you here on the campus for something. I can't remember what, but how did that prepare you? I want to go back to life. I want to go back to the mirror,
Mhm.
because you finished one program, You came back and did another program. How did that externship at a very unique place prepare you for where you're sitting here today?
Okay, so fun story. Um, Brandon, the owner over there, I loved him. Marine, he's still in the Marines right now. I think he's a lieutenant colonel too in the Marines too. So very high ranking individual, wonderful to work with. That staff was amazing. Very small staff, very family oriented. Like
Yeah.
I want to say it might have been 6 of us in there on any given day, um, which was really helped facilitate the learning process. The smaller group of people is more intimate. You can ask the questions. And everybody's like working together, like with this project to get it done. But the thing that I love most about him was because we had that really good military connection. It was always like, hey, Trenin, like I trust you. You're a West Point grad. I feel like you know what you need or you want to know. So talk to me. Help me out. How can I make this program beneficial to you? And we had that dialogue constantly. I don't know too many people that go into a job and just start dialoguing with the boss right off the bat. Like, hey,
Yeah.
this is what I got to offer. This is what I need help with. Can you help me? But we had that open dialogue, and I've always like, once again, Chef Dan got me hyped about it. Working with chocolate. Oh my good. We did it a little bit in the program, but to that extent, especially with what they were doing with the wholesale, like making 14,000 of a product, like that repetition, like really helped me hone in a lot of my skills. And then learning to work with chocolate under the different temperature conditions, because on any given day, it'd be too hot or too cold in the kitchen, or something to set too fast because the air conditioned vent is blowing air on the table and you don't even realize it. And that little extra impact from the air has now caused this product to speed up in its setting a lot faster. Then it's like, how do I adjust to that? Coloring chocolate was a new thing for me, so that was fun. Learning how to airbrush and spray paint and keeping things at the right temperatures and textures and making sure you stay. It's like a sweet zone you have to stay in when working with chocolate.
So with all that said, again, so such great comments. Any thoughts? I won't hold you to them. Again, if you're in front of all those students, the word I'm looking for is maybe maximizing, right? What's the advice to someone just starting, maybe without the military background, maybe, a 24-year-old? What is the advice to someone how to maximize, their experience? I was going to say Escoffier, but just their experience with education, period.
Maximize your experience with education. Wow. Be a self-educator. I think that's the part that a lot of people are missing. They come in and they expect to be taught.
Oh, yes,
And
yes,
that was
yes.
not an expectation that I had. Like I'm confident with teaching myself 100%. I use the expertise at the school as when I need help. It's a reference. There's a professional reference available for me. I know they have the answers, and I can demonstrate to them exactly what I'm doing, so they'll quickly identify. That's what you're doing wrong. It's that step. Like I'm surprised you even know about it. It's the self it's the self-study, self-taught, self-teach. Like I take that approach. It's a lot of experimentation. As we said earlier, you can't make failure a bad thing. Don't be
Yeah,
afraid to
yeah,
fail,
yeah.
especially if you take the experimentation perspective of life and you be like, all right, I'm just try something out. You go in and be like, all right, it is or it ain't gonna work, but I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna keep pushing it. So the education is just the self thing. And even then, with the curriculum there, I know there's a ton more things that you guys wish you could teach the students, but it's like what's the best cause? How are this going to benefit the industry and stuff like that? So you kind of pick and choose what you can focus on. But
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
student, you have to recognize that, like, hey, I'm learning how to do this, but I know I'm not getting the full picture. What skill am I missing, or what reinforcement do I need to go look into and study so I can make this product better? And it
No,
was
I love that response, and it gets me thinking. Your comment about um, how to learn in the classroom. we're always trying to do better as well and reinvent ourselves. You know, each individual chef, to Chef Dan to all of our online instructors. And of late, we've been doing what we call flipping the classroom. In other words, providing some information out to our students in advance rather than lecturing at them, having them kind of review some of this information. And then when they come to class, we talk about it, ask questions. I want to hear about your grandmother's recipe. I want an international student to tell us a little bit about some ethnic cuisine that we may not be exploring in the classroom. And it's worked really, really well. So what ends up happening is that our teachers have literally become facilitators of knowledge rather than talking at people. And it's been fabulous, right? And the students react. They're turning their cameras on more, right? It's like, this is great. I want to end this conversation, right? Yeah.
Chef Knowles is phenomenal. I'm gonna credit Chef Knowles with the reason I approach food the way I do now.
Isn't
Because
that something? Yeah.
he harped on like it was through the door. Like he would consider you not prepared for class if you hadn't done some type of research on what we're doing and you can talk intelligently about it.
I love that. I
Like
love
that
it.
was the approach he took. Like, all right, you're not ready yet. Like, so
Yeah.
just like being with him and having to research my food and where it's coming from and its origins and the future of it and all of that stuff. And it just, yes, it really helped me skyrocket. I love this new approach 100%.
I love it. I love it. After you graduated, I've noticed that you've embraced this title of food engineer. Um, I think there might be another product in there somewhere, but so in your free time, like we talked about before we got started today, you're creating recipes, you're refining recipes, you're having fun with recipes. What excites you about that? And and how would you define, this is a good question. How would you define American cuisine today as someone who's mature, been around the world,
Yes.
educated themselves at a high level in many different areas? How would you define American cuisine by Trenin? American cuisine by Trenin.
Oh, true. Okay. So the first question, real quick before we get to American cuisine, it's the process that really excites me the most. It
Yeah,
is it
yeah.
is the process, the journey. I love being able to show something at the end and show you this really beautiful product that I came up with, but the process to get to that is what I love the most because that's where I'm learning. It's especially doing stuff out of my kitchen and decreasing my portion sizes and making things smaller. It's technique now. It's like I need a new technique to be able to pipe something this small. I need a new type of mold, a new type of structure to be able to do this. I need to re-envision the way I'm combining these elements right now because I don't have the facilities to support
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
using like mass stuff. So that whole process is probably my favorite portion of it. It's just like learning like what's next, what's new. Every time I go in here to cook something, I learn something new. I learn a new way to do something. I wouldn't say a better way, but a more efficient way. Efficiency. That's one of my key words.
Great word. Great word.
Efficient
Yeah.
word in doing stuff. So really the process is the driving motivator for me behind that. Now, American cuisine. It occurred to me one day, just randomly, because I've traveled the world. I've been on like 5 different continents, probably around 12, 13 different countries. I think I've been to like 40 out of 50 states. I've been all over this world. And I think when I originally started traveling, I would kind of miss food from home. Like, man, I miss me some American food. But the word American cuisine is almost a joke in the food industry. Like I would go like overseas and be like, man, I need something American. And the usual response is what, a hamburger? And they would like say it laugh jokingly. Like, a hamburger, that's American cuisine. And it's like, I understand where you're coming from, but nah, that's not really American cuisine. So I kind of wanted to define what American cuisine was. And I had to do the history. I'm like, why don't we have this really definitive American cuisine? And I start looking at the places we draw from, like the French and Asian stuff. And I look at how long they've been established as a country. It's like you're talking dynasties. You're talking
Hmm.
BC on the timeline. Like they've been around for thousands of years. That's how they developed this stuff. You know, America had its 249th birthday this year.
Yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah.
249 years old. We're babies on the world front of things. And on top of that, our cuisine has evolved. You know, it originally came over here and we started off basically with, I guess, some European influence a little bit, the Native American influence. And then as we started moving westward, expansion, building railroads, we brought the Asian influence and stuff into our cuisine. And it broke down to what it currently is today. It's American food is every other cuisine of food. Let me get some Italian food tonight. Let me get some Mexican food tonight. Let me get some other food besides American food. So then I started thinking like we learned in school, what makes a food unique to its area. And it's most cuisines were developed based off what was available to the people. Like, hey, this is what is available in this region of the world. So this is what we're going to use to develop our food. And I'm looking at the timeline. It's 2025 now. Like logistics is nothing. Like what's available is worldwide. I don't have to get on the golden road and travel thousands of miles to trade spices anymore. You know, I can go get spices right out the grocery store. So it's taking a different approach. There is not an ingredient that is off limits to me at this point. It's like everything is easily accessible or can be, get with a little bit of effort. So that's the first portion was what was available to me. The second portion, this was a realization point for me. It was like I'm a subject matter expert on this, but not just me. Every single person who is alive right now who is cooking, every single person who has been in America eating food is a subject matter expert on what American food is. Like I am open to listening to everybody because the thing is I'm trying to unify American cuisine. Right now we got Southern cuisine, we got some West Coast, Northwest cuisine, stuff from the South, but it's no real unification of it yet. It's trying to spread. It's definitely trying to spread, but there's no unification of all these different components of America. And having lived in almost every state in America, it's like I know it's kind of everywhere. I've tasted a lot of stuff. I can bring those elements together. Now, the third thing, the thing that really makes this American cuisine, I'm gonna get into science with you, is the American diet. Food is fuel, right? So when I start thinking about the American diet, I'm into bodybuilding. That's what I do. But I don't want to just eat dry chicken breasts and brown rice. Now that I know how to cook and I have my nutrition background, I know what a carb is, I know what a protein is, I know what a fat is. I understand the structure, the pyramids of balancing your macros and your micros and all the nutrients that you need. The science is out there, and it's like now I can make purposeful food. Like I want fuel to be this high efficient athlete, but I want it to taste good. I want it to look great. I don't want to feel like I'm shoving it down my throat or anything like that. And it's a structure. It's a complete change of the American diet. Um, that I'm taking this approach from. I'm capturing the evolution we've done so far with preferring more plant-based stuff, more sustainable stuff. So my protein structure is predominantly plant-based. Like in all the foods that I'm making and cooking, I make sure like to have my protein be predominantly plant-based, like pea stuff, seeds. Um, I took some falafel and put some really good stuff in it and rolled it down tight and sliced it thin, almost like pepperoni, um, like little patties. And then
Yeah.
I fried those little patties off. Now we're gonna get to that. Fried the little patties off, and I topped that on different foods and stuff. But with that restructuring, primary focus of the proteins on the plant based, I still use my animal fats. So
Yeah.
most of my fat structure does come from. I use plant fats, but my animal products comes from my animal fats, my dairies, my cheeses. my tallows, my little bits of lard that I like to stick into things and make it a little bit more crispy and give it that umami taste.
Yeah.
Yes, and you don't need a lot. That's the beauty because you learned about nutrition. You know, like 1 tablespoon of fat is about 160 calories, 120 calories, 60 calories, 2 tablespoons, 120. So you start to dial in now, like, hey, I can make this great product. I can change the type of fat that we're using, reduce it so I can get my fat count. I can get the protein that I need from this, and then the carbs. Like we're in America. America loves its carbs, breads, cakes. Like so when I started thinking about American cuisine and the diet, like I couldn't ignore that. Like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
like our we
Yeah.
like our healthy food, we like our carbs, we like our protein based stuff, and I know we like our big portions, but that's another thing I'm trying to change too. I'm shrinking that portion size down and taking more of the holistic or conscious approach to eating.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like this is this portion size because of this reason. And I'm putting it into my fitness stuff. So when people look at me like, man, what are you eating and why are you eating that much? It's like, well, this is what I'm eating, and I'm eating this much because this is what's necessary to fuel my body, to
Yeah.
sustain. This is how I get shredded in the gym. This is how I have the energy to go run a marathon, then come back here and cook. And it's the food and it's the American diet, which is going to translate over to American cuisine now. It's coming as the cuisine development is actually a byproduct of the need to change the diet.
Yeah. 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 I love the critical thinking piece. Who raise your hand if you believe that Trenin has a future in teaching? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. There we go. There we go.
Yeah,
Hey,
well,
buddy, we've kind of come to the end of our time today, but not the end of our time together. But we have one other question. I think I know where you're going to go with it. It's a beautiful question. The name of our show is The Ultimate Dish. And I need to ask you, what is the ultimate dish? I think it's over your shoulder.
it is. My ultimate dish is the cookie. It just I grew up eating cookies. I worked at a cookie shop. I love cookie. The cookie has so much flexibility to me. I'm surprised I haven't seen more use of it in competition baking. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
something probably I'll bring to it. It's more than just it can be a standalone, but it can also serve as a good structure for things. You can manipulate it in so many ways, and we got the
I'm
ice.
not going to argue the cookie. I'm not
Oh
arguing
my
that at
goodness!
all.
So the cookie, and I actually made a cookie. I'm gonna bring it. It's for you. I made it. It's a complete custom recipe. I did a chocolate chip cookie. I felt like the chocolate chip cookie is pretty American.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
like growing up on Famous Amos cookies and things like that. Chips Ahoy, like Toll House. I thought the chocolate chip cookie was pretty American. So I was like, let me take this chocolate chip cookie and do something with it. So I just did I did do like a brown butter infusion into the chocolate chip cookie with my different playing with the different types of sugars. I did use a little bit of a liquid sugar to
Uh-huh.
keep it a little bit more malleable, increase the hygroscopic properties of it and everything. The I filled the cookie as well. I did a toasted pecan ganache. Um, because I didn't want to do a bunch of pecans in the chocolate chip cookie, but I do like the taste of pecans with my chocolate chip.
Yeah, brilliant.
So I
Brilliant.
did
Yeah.
a toasted pecan ganache that's layered inside of the cookie. And then I did both a chocolate and vanilla buttercream decoration on top just to practice different piping techniques. But
I got to take a picture when you pull that up.
I'm gonna
Look at
bring
that.
this
This is a first. This is a first on the ultimate dish. Oh my
ultimate
goodness. The
dish.
ultimate dish. Look at that cookie.
Yes.
That's beautiful, buddy.
Ultimate dish. Like I
I
said,
love that.
triple
That's,
chocolate chip cookie with a toasted pecan ganache filling.
oh my
And
goodness.
then
Oh
this is
my
this is a
goodness.
mixture of all the darker parts are chocolate buttercream and all the lighter parts are the vanilla
Oh,
buttercream.
that is the ultimate dish by Chef Trenin. How about it? How about it? Hey, my friend, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Wow, what an hour. What an absolute hour. I'm super proud of you. I love you. I wish you nothing but success, and I'll keep you posted. We got lots of stuff coming up in the next couple of months here at the school, and I want you a part of all of it.
Thank you so much. I love you. I appreciate you for everything you've done for me. Definitely number one chef in my life. I appreciate, and I'm always use you as a resource. 1,000%.
Always. You better. I'm always here for you, buddy. Thank you, man.
Thank you for listening to the Ultimate Dish Podcast, brought to you by Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts. Visit escoffier.edu/podcast to find any materials mentioned during the podcast, including notes, links, and other resources. And if you can, please leave us a rating on Apple or Spotify and subscribe to support our show. This helps us reach more aspiring individuals ready to take the next step toward their dream careers. Thanks for listening.